Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of the California Clays podcast. I'm your host, Henning Matthew. On this episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing one of my favorite people in the clay shooting sports, Desirae Edmunds. Desi is a world and national champion, a multiple time Team USA team captain, and a multiple time All American. In addition to that, she's been a member of Team USA 16 times. She's a trailblazer for women in shotgun shooting sports. She's a great role model and ambassador and has been instrumental in helping the sport's growth, especially for women. Desi is also one of the nicest people in the game, and despite her being younger than me, a very wise and worldly person. I'm happy to call her my friend and my coach, and of all the pros I've taken lessons with, she's been the most impactful in my shooting journey. Given my shooting scores recently, though, I'm not sure she wants me advertising that, but in her defense, it's been at least 3 years since I've had a lesson with Desi. Coach, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Henning. I appreciate it. It's
So
good to see
what?
you.
So catch me up. It's been a while since we've chat. What have you been up to lately?
So this off season, I spent a lot of time hunting. Zach and I really went on the road and we went after the waterfowl, which was super fun. I feel like we hunted probably more this season than we have in the past, which I really enjoyed. So it was a nice reprieve. I got to visit my family a couple times because my family still lives in Alaska. And we had a new addition to the family, my niece.
That's
So I
great.
got to see her a couple times this year, a family trip in Mexico. They came to visit me in Savannah. I played tour guide, the whole thing. So it was a really relaxed, enjoyable off season for me. And this spring has been pretty light in terms of the schedule. We've only done a couple majors so far, actually three, but and it's going really well. So everything's gearing up. Lessons are picking up, the weather's picking up, and shooting season's about to, we're about to hit the road running.
How is it in Savannah or Georgia right now, weather-wise? Or is
Oh,
it
it's
getting warm,
perfect.
hot, humid?
It's perfect. This
Is
time of
it?
year is my favorite time of year in Savannah. Love the spring. Mid 70s, sunshine, and we'll get a little bit of rain here and there. You got a nice breeze. The only downside is sometimes the sand gnats can get a little angry.
I was gonna
Um,
say you guys are below the gnat line.
Yes.
Okay.
But so I feel like I've been bitten enough that I'm almost immune at this point, but I still have, some bumps around it, friggin' scratching from the sand gnats. But Savannah's amazing this time of year. Love it.
Wow. Okay, so they're aggressive, huh?
They can be mean, really mean. And I'm from Alaska, so I deal with a lot of mosquitoes. The sand gnats can be really mean if they want to.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess I should. Is there a season where there aren't gnats or?
Yeah, when it's really hot.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a trade-off, but nowhere's perfect.
It's not too bad. Right on.
Yeah, I gotta deal with everything. It's not like California hunting where you can leave every window and every door open all day long and not a single bug flies in the house.
We are so spoiled in California. I watch these little videos about bugs or birds or animals in Australia doing crazy things
Yeah,
and other states, and
right.
I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I do miss that about California, the no bugs thing, but
Yeah. Now, let's speaking of California, you were in California for a period of time. Let's go back a little bit into your journey into clay shooting sports. I find it kind of interesting knowing a little bit about you. How did you first get into clay shooting?
yeah, so I was born and raised, grew up in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. I first started shooting a shotgun there, very uh, beginner. I went through the Alaska Fish and Game program, and actually Tony Monzingo, who some people know of, he had a youth program going on up there, and that's where I got my first taste of shotgun shooting. I knew zero about guns. I didn't know anything about shotguns, clay targets. So it was really just something to keep me out of trouble, and something to do outside, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and there was a gun club up there, Grouse Ridge. The owner and another dear friend, Lee Brenfrew, kind of took me under her wing. And it was kind of a weekend thing that I would just go out and shoot. Loved it, loved the people, loved being outside. I was actually not good at it at all. So I must have really loved it. So did that in Alaska. And then when I graduated high school, I moved to California and I was going to college in Southern California. And I was broke, as most college kids are, and I wanted to shoot. So I started working part time at the gun club. in Southern California. Triple B Clays, that's what it was called then. It's LA Clays now.
Hmm.
So I was working part-time there, going to college, and just trying to stay into shooting as much as I could while getting an education. And Zach and I, we were dating at the time, and we finally decided Zach in his career was really ready to make the next step into getting into a region where shooting was more available. As you know, traveling east is a very big challenge for shoots. So we decided to move to Houston, and that's where I feel like my shooting took the next step.
Hmm.
So we lived in Houston for about 7 years, and then we moved to Savannah in January of 2020, and we've been here ever since.
So when you were at LA Clays, or now LA Clays, Triple B back in the day, were you were obviously competing then?
Yes,
Were
yes, I
you
was.
competing in Alaska also before you moved to LA?
Yes, as much as I could.
Okay.
So when I lived in Alaska, to be honest, I shot, I think maybe it's been a while now, I'm getting older. Maybe a couple shoots a year, maybe two, three at most outside. We say outside in Alaska, right? Anything outside of Alaska. And then when I moved to California, I think I probably did about the same. It was maybe two or three shoots a year outside of California just because of cost and time. Southern California is not cheap. So
No.
I loved the beach and I loved living there, but I just didn't have the funds and the time to travel a lot. So I was competing on the NSC, for NSCA, just not heavily.
So were you more of like a state shooter then, regional shooter, or did you
Yeah,
start
so
going?
I shot everything that I could really get to close by. We shot obviously everything there in California, and then a lot in Arizona.
Mhm.
When I lived in California, we'd go down to Ben Avery and Coyote Springs, and we try and back then there was Sage Hill, which was over in Nevada. That's dating myself. So I would try to get to those shoots as much as possible. I'd try to get to the nationals every year. I'd try to get to the U.S. Open every year if I could. Just as many as I could afford and have the
Mhm.
time for.
I keep hearing about Sage Hill and River Road, and you were obviously around here during that time. Can you tell us just really quickly a little bit about them? I've heard Zach mention River Road many times being one of the best clubs in California. What was your experiences there in
So
Sage
I
Hill?
actually never shot at River Road.
Oh, okay.
I may be getting older, but Zach is older than me. So, yeah, River Road was definitely his home club, his course. So I never got to shoot at River Road. I don't have any experience there. Sage Hill was actually a shoot I used to go to. Mostly it's time of year. So when you're living in Alaska, right, the time of year for a shoot, it's great to do it during winter. And that's when they would have their winter championships and those shoots. So I just kind of went there because some of the people that I was shooting with went there. Sage Hill was awesome. I mean, back then I thought it was the biggest, grandest thing I'd ever seen, so
And this
um,
was the Bullard family, if I remember correctly, right? That
yeah,
ran it?
I'm not very good on the historian side of things. That's Zach's department.
Okay.
He's very good at that. Chronologically, my timeline is like a big ball of yarn. But I do remember Sage Hill a lot, and it was a really neat place to shoot.
Right on, right on. No, that's great. What was the clay scene like in California back then? Do you see or do you hear about the same people? Was it totally different? Did we have a lot of people shooting in California, or what was it like?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, California's always had a lot of shooters. We have a lot of recreational shooters. And we do have a lot of competitive shooters. They just don't go travel, which is
Right.
understandable. Um,
Well, there's
get
so many
back,
places to shoot in California, right? And then on top of that,
yeah,
it's hard to get in the state so large, it's hard to get
right.
out of the state. So,
Yes. It's similar to Texas in that regard. People don't realize, it's a long ways from Southern California all the way up to Northern California. Those gun clubs are a long way apart.
right.
Um, so I remember, yeah, Triple B Clays. I remember Comanche. I remember Quail Point and all those. So I tried to hit as many as I could, but
Right on, right on.
yeah.
When did you really feel like you wanted to compete though? From Alaska, where you were competing a little bit there, but what made you go like, this is what I'm going to do? Is it working at Triple B or?
Yeah, I think working at Triple B just solidified my love for shooting because I was around it all the time. It wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily the working part. It was just being around shooting. I just really enjoyed the people and I really enjoyed being at the range. I would say probably when I moved to Houston, I kind of had a realization that heavily competing was possible, right? Because it's life, it's time, it's money, it's location. And when we moved to Houston and Zach really started, you know, jumping in on his career more heavily than he had been, I realized that there were opportunities there that I didn't have prior to be able to compete really heavily. Um, I also was working in an office there when I lived in Houston for a while, and I realized that that wasn't so much fun, right? I would rather, be out doing that. And then also there was a demand for female instructors, just
Hmm.
casually, a lot of beginners. And I started doing that and realized, look, there's a pretty good demand for this. This industry or this sport is something that I can kind of latch onto and make part of my life. So I would say when I moved to Houston is when I kind of had the realization that I could be a competitive shooter and also had the opportunity to do it.
No, that's great. You've been dominating the clay shooting scene for a long time. When you first started, when did things start really clicking for you? Like in terms of not that you could do it. Obviously, you knew you could do it, but I think I always feel like there's a transition in like in a competitor's kind of like journey where things just start all falling into place in terms of their skill set and ability. When did that start happening for you?
Um, that's kind of a general in general, that's still happening, right? There's still
Mm,
moments where I feel like, oh my gosh, these skills, these things that I've been working towards are coming together. So it's little snapshots of that happening all the time. But yeah, it was when we lived in Houston, I started shooting more. And
hmm.
that's the most simple answer I could give you is I got more experience shooting the gun at different targets, at different gun clubs, different presentations. So I got the opportunity to learn more often than I did before, right? You can only learn something, right? One, by failing, you have to do it, and there's no shortcut to experience. So, before maybe I understood the concept, but in application, I didn't really know what that looked like or what that felt like. So by giving myself more opportunities to literally pull the trigger and shoot different targets, that's when things started clicking more. All of these things that I had heard throughout the years, Zach or Anthony and even Brad back then, they would talk. They're talking to
Hmm.
each other about their own shooting, and I'm thinking they're talking a different language to me
Right.
right now. And it all started to make more sense when I was actually trying to apply it. So that's probably, I would say, the first moment that things really started coming together. Um, Ironically enough, it was also, well, prior to that, when I first started shooting, I actually was shooting with one eye closed.
Okay.
Um, I started shooting. I'm right eye dominant and I'm right handed. Didn't know that at the time. Nobody ever talked about that at all. That was
Oh,
never,
really? So that wasn't a big focus
no,
or
no,
realization back then.
that was never covered in beginner's manual. So I was shooting with one eye closed, and no one ever told me not to. Right? I saw it in the movies. I'm like, oh yeah, you're supposed to close an eye, and that's how you shoot. So I shot that way for probably 4 years, maybe more. I don't know.
So that
Um,
conversation never came up between you and Zach.
well, this was before Zach.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and so then when I was on the road, I was shooting. I think it was actually Anthony at the time. I don't remember. I was shooting in Kentucky or something, and he was watching me shoot, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Why are you closing your eye?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Doesn't everybody?" Yeah. So that realization happened, and then I had to relearn everything. I had
Right.
to learn what the target looked like, what the gun looked like, what perceived lead looked like, what the whole visual part of the game looked like. So
Hmm.
I was kind of behind the eight ball on that. But that was probably the first like realization click moment, and then it was just learning process from there.
I could totally relate to you on a lot of what you just said right there. There's been, I've taken a lot of lessons from multiple coaches. They all have been impactful in my journey, but you really came at a time when all the stuff I'd been hearing from so many people, Zach included, you knew how to say it in a way to me that it just turned on the switch, and it just all of a sudden started to make sense. Everything that I'd heard, you just took it into like a couple of simple words and were like, this is what it means. And I was like, oh, now I get it. And then when I'd go out there and shoot, it just clicked again because then I started seeing what you guys were talking about. But
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. I think there's something to say about experience and shooting as much as you can and doing it. Repetition obviously helps,
Yeah.
but seeing many different things also helps. And when I went to the World English at Northbrook, just seeing really difficult targets gave
Mhm.
me the confidence to shoot back in California again. You know,
Yeah. It's
it's not.
relative.
Yeah, it's not that the targets in California were softer. It was just that because I'd done a world event, I felt better about my shooting coming to California again.
Yeah,
So
you
there's
did
something to be
it, you
said.
survived, you made it,
Yes,
and when you go back to the comfort zone, you just have a little more boosted
that's
confidence.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So you've earned multiple All-American titles and captained the ladies team several times. Like, what does that kind of recognition mean for you?
You know, looking at that, to me, it represents dedication. It represents hard work, perseverance. Those recognition programs are not easy to attain. It
Yeah,
takes a lot of not only financial commitment, a time commitment, but a good amount of dedication and going through the ups and the downs and working through the hard stuff.
right.
So to me, I look back at that and I'm proud of my, didn't quit type of thing. I'm also proud of that because it shows consistency. I might not be at the top, but I'm right there in the ladies category every time. Um, and putting it on paper, it's a collection of all my experiences and my hard work. That's exactly what it is.
Do you think back on some of these achievements that you've made when you're, sitting there and how does that make you feel when you're thinking back on all these? Because you've literally lived multiple lifetimes in the shooting space lifetime, right? With all these different things that you've done, the travel that you've done. How does that make you feel when you sit back and reflect?
Well, one, it makes me feel good because I feel like I've already lived multiple lifetimes and I'm still not as old as some of them. So
Yeah,
I've got a lot of time left and I've got a ways to go. So it makes me feel good about that. It also, to be honest, at this point in my career, it gives me a little bit more confidence when I reflect on that positively because I've been there.
yeah.
I've done it. I've worked through it. And even if I'm in a slump now or I'm struggling with something, I know that I can come out of it. Yeah, I'm proud of it, and not in a oh I've got the title way. It's just I know what it takes to earn one of those, and
Absolutely. No, you definitely, put in the work. You've got the titles. I don't want to call you Annie Oakley, but you're like our modern day Annie Oakley, right? Like
mhm.
if you talk about famous women shooters,
Yeah, and
um,
I'm very blessed because there were several women shooters before me that
sure.
definitely paved the way in their own regard, right? We're always, and I guess in construction, we're always trying to make the road longer and wider, and so there were definitely women before me that showed me or gave me an example of something that I wanted to be or that could be done. And I've tried to follow that same road and just make more opportunities, do the same thing.
Can you share who were some of your influences?
Yeah, Diane is very near and dear to my heart. Diane Sorrentino.
Hmm.
She's been around since I first started, and she's had a lot of shooting advice. She's had a lot of life advice. She's been a great friend, a great support. She's also a great team member. Team Beretta is fantastic. I'm very lucky to be with them. I've been with them for a long time, so she's a great team member. She's a great captain.
Hmm.
Um, back when I first started on those Team USAs, I mean, she was there to you know, help me figure it out. And she did that, out of friendship, and I can't appreciate her enough for it.
Is that the role of the captains of these teams? I always thought it was kind of like a acknowledgement or recognition thing for the ability through that season. But is the captain truly like the lead of the team and kind of the person that coaches people through things, or how does that work relative to the
Yeah, I
team?
mean, there's no written rule on what the captain has to do.
Okay.
But typically, your captain has the most experience, right?
Mhm.
So it's always valuable to be able to get information from them um, in regards to the team because they have the most experience. So little things to, if it's your first time overseas to travel, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you want to bring to other things of mindset and what you want to experience and just realistic expectations. So I think for the most part that captain position kind of naturally takes that role.
Mhm.
There's not a written handbook of saying this is what the captain should do. It's just kind of the nature of the way the team evolves and travels.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, touching back on some of the accolades that you had, 2015, and you won the World English Sporting, and then you won it again in 2017.
Mhm.
Can you walk us through those competitions and what it took to win? Was it the same kind of scenario or completely different?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so long ago. I know. I need to put another one of those on the paper here for recent times. But I think both of those, and I can't remember which years were which exactly, but one of them was in South Florida, I believe, and one of them was in San Antonio. So I haven't won that yet overseas, which I plan on doing. But I remember both of those shoots being very, very difficult. I remember the targets being very difficult. I'd have to look up what the high scores were or what the qualifying scores were. I remember in South Florida, I think it was Sunday of the World English, brutal winds. Doug Vine had set the targets. It was kicking everybody's butt. And I just remember going out there. I think I had some experience shooting PSCA prior to that or during that time. And PSCA was also brutal, long, exhausting rounds, 120 targets of just like hard stuff, very demanding targets. So I had some experience and some practice doing that. And it's a mindset of just keep grinding, shoot, go for every target you can. And you kind of put in simple terms, you had to be okay with missing, I guess.
Hmm.
I don't think the high scores were very high those years. So that was Florida. And then San Antonio, I was actually really proud of that one. I think I was only one bird away from qualifying into the super squad that year, one or two birds. Which I mean that's a huge, uh, accomplish accomplishment for me, even though I didn't get in. I think I beat Zach that year too, which
Did you?
yeah. So I won't let him
Oh, you
forget
know
about.
you beat Zach that year. You
Yeah,
would.
yeah, I did.
He probably doesn't
Um,
stop hearing that.
yeah, but I was
So
I
you
was very
checked him
proud of
off.
that. Yeah,
That's
check them
great.
off.
Just
Yep.
just for the just for everybody else to know this, and I love this about you, but you've checked off every one of the male pros that you've beaten in a score, right?
Yeah,
It's one
and
of
I
your
don't
things.
actually have it on a piece of paper, but yeah, there's a little list up there.
No, I think
Um,
that's great. Do you go up to them and just do this, or what do you do?
Not anymore, but there was a few of them that I definitely went back to. Yeah, no, that's just all fun and games, and it's a good motivator, right? And
Right.
but yeah, that World English in San Antonio, I remember the targets being very difficult there as well, and I just shot really well that weekend. You know what? I remember one stand in particular. I was sitting on one of the metal benches at a station. It was some crazy trap teal, true pair with something else. And I just remember putting as much energy and effort as I could possibly muster into every single target. I mean, the amount of brain power and focus that I was trying to attain at that shoot was more than I had ever put in, I feel like. And that's what it takes. But I just kind of remember that moment. So I was really proud of that.
What was different about that that made you focus, you think, so much? Was it because you didn't make the super squad and you wanted to show them, or what was it, you know, that
No, no,
motivated
no,
you?
no, that wasn't it then. I think well, winning another World English. I mean, that was on the list. I kind of thrive in that challenge area. Like when you throw that target that's going to challenge me, I feel like I'm going to put, a little more energy and effort into it. And that thought I had there, that was on Sunday, and I knew I had shot well on Saturday, so I wanted to keep going. It's just a mindset. That's all it is. It's a mindset to convince yourself and make yourself put that much energy into it.
Hmm.
There's no secret recipe. You have to mentally tell yourself you're going to do it, and you have to do it every time.
Interesting. We'll dive into your training process too, because I'd love to hear more about that also in deeper detail. But of all your championship, wins, PSCA, NSCA, US Open, Nationals, and I know this is going to be a tough question in World as well. Which one was the most meaningful for you?
Mm, I don't know. Probably the first nationals.
First Nationals,
And
okay.
I don't know. I just say that. That's just probably the most imprinted on my mind because I always wanted to win that shoot.
Hmm.
That's the shoot I've probably been going to the longest.
Okay.
I've attended that shoot the most of any. And being a national champion is freaking being a national champion.
Yeah.
That's a hard shoot to win. So I kind of remember that one the most. But I don't know if I could pick one. I haven't won a world feed task yet, again, which I'm planning on doing. So that will definitely go to the top of the list when it happens.
Right, right. I bet. I mean, that's one. I mean, that's not that I'm a major competitor, but I would love that one too.
Yeah,
World
yeah,
Feed Task just seems like it's the ultimate of shotgun shooting in sports. At least for
yeah,
me,
right.
in my mindset. But
Yeah, so stay tuned on that answer. When I win the world feed task, ask me
that'll be
again.
the one.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you won the Nationals, Zach won the Nationals for the first time that year too, right? Was that his first one winning as
Yeah,
a
so
as an
my
open?
my second nationals was his first nationals. Yep.
Okay. That was pretty cool. I gotta admit, you guys must have been super elated after you both won it together at the same year, the same time.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we actually never shoot nationals together, so we had no idea it was happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've never actually shot nationals together ever.
That's actually pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it was it just worked out really well that year, and he's since surpassed the two, right? He got
Sure.
he got to work on that quick and in a hurry, but yeah, that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's the three-time, right?
Yes.
The
Yep.
three-time. I was calling him the two-time for a while. Now we got to call him the three-time, but
Free time,
yeah, that's
yeah.
great. So wait, go back to that real quick because I got to know kind of how you guys ended up realizing it. Are you paying attention to his score at all? Is he paying attention to your score?
Um, yes and no. I mean, I think we knew where we were going into Sunday. So, I mean, I looked at his score. I knew where he was at,
Yeah.
but we were on different courses at different times. And so, no, I mean, I had no idea it was happening when it
But was
happened.
he like, I won nationals, and you're like, so did I? And then you
Yeah,
guys,
I mean, as soon as I finished, some of my friends, because he had shot before me, some of my friends had come up and they told me,
okay.
as soon as I finished. But during the round, no, I had no idea and I shot after him, so he definitely didn't know.
No, that was pretty cool. I saw the cover and everything. I mean, that was perfect. You couldn't have
Yeah.
asked for a better finish for you two. So that was great.
Yeah.
So let's do this. I want to dive, you've been my coach. You've definitely helped me in seeing things a little bit differently. I think a lot of folks, go to pros to get like the deeper dive, the advanced knowledge. Let's talk about your training and your mental game approach. Um, I've, personally, like I said, I think you came at the right time for me, having taken lessons from all these different coaches. Everybody's different in their journey, kind of, and who they
Yeah.
connect with, who they work with. I think because Zach and you have both been Californians, we're all around the same age, although I'm older than you. Um, it felt like I was hanging out with my friends rather than like some coach, And for me, that seemed clicking with you and Zach in terms of coaching. It made sense. I think you guys just knew how to talk to me because we just got each other in that way. What's like your typical training day look like for you? And do you even train anymore? Is it just more like through shooting and repetition?
Yeah, I would say my training days need to increase. I definitely am a culprit of not practicing enough.
Okay.
Life gets in the way, the schedule gets really busy, and I need to put in more commitment to practicing. I wouldn't say more in general, but just more often. So I would say that, and same for the mental game. We shoot so many tournaments that it's kind of I kind of use some of the tournaments as tweaking and getting tuned in for the shoots that I feel like are really important. I definitely still do, I would say, some training days before the big majors, before both worlds, usually before an open or before nationals. I definitely spend time working on things that I feel like I need to. I think that's always evolving. Your
Yeah, I was
practice.
gonna say, so how has your training evolved? Like, are you working on specific presentations? Are you working on how you use your eyes? Like, what are your
Yeah, so I
things?
think when you're first starting, it's just trigger time. It's trying to get as many presentations as you can, get good repetition on them, and you learn the fundamentals. You're learning what it means to use your eyes. You're learning what it means to control the gun. You're learning what it means to have good timing. Once you kind of get some of those more fundamentals, a little more confidence in them, I'm not saying you're perfecting them, but yeah, you want to have more confidence in them, you start to build on that. And then you start talking about, specific types of moves and specific types of presentations. And then you kind of get into more of the mental side of things. So I definitely don't I don't train the same way I did, 5 years ago as I do now, but it's different things. And it just
Do you
depends
mind
on the,
touching on that?
yeah.
Like, what have you
So,
changed or what have you gotten rid of? Or
5 years ago, I would say I was still learning how to better use my eyes and how to better use my hands. And I mean, yeah, I was continuing to build a library of approaches, whether that be techniques or different, styles on how to approach a target, how to break it. But I was still honing in all of those things that you need to execute that. Um, I would say it was probably more quantity 5 years ago than it was necessarily something specific. I just needed to shoot. I just flat out needed to go practice. Now I think I'm a little more specific on it, whether that be certain presentations that I got to go work on, or when I go out, I'm working on just my timing, making sure my hands are working, making sure I'm in time with the bird. You're always working on your eyes. Your eyes, that's a never ending
right?
training. You're always working on looking at the bird. Um, I probably need to work a little bit more on my mental game here recently. I just feel like I'm getting a little carefree about it,
Hmm.
and I need to kind of tighten that up a little bit and get a little more regimented on it.
So
Um,
let's touch on that too, because I can relate to that a lot actually. Where I go in thinking, I'm just carefree about it. Like I'm just here to have fun. If I shoot a good score, great. But when I want to focus and pay attention and win, then I tend to do a little bit better. But it can also be a downward slope for me too if I overthink it. So how do you find that right balance?
um, experience,
Yeah.
yeah, putting it through practice. Um, Anthony's got some stuff out that I've read a little bit. I think everybody's a little different. I like to keep it simple in terms of not making anything too complicated, but it needs to be the right simple. So I need to make sure I have a good structure to what I'm thinking in my brain. I'm not just jumping around at different thoughts of, oh, the front edge, and then, oh, this is a slow bird or whatever. I need to go through a good process. I need to make sure I stick to that. Um, I also think a lot of the mental game is confidence, right? Confidence is something, this intangible thing
Hmm.
that when you're shooting with confidence, everything works. And when you're not shooting with confidence, every little thing starts to nitpick and nag and drag you down. Um,
Do you
The
think confidence comes from, experience or preparation?
both.
Okay.
Yep, both. Experience, like you were saying earlier, when you went and shot Northbrook and then you went back to California, you had more confidence. Just because
True.
you had
Yeah.
been there, you did it, you had experienced it, whether you shot good or bad.
Yeah.
You
And I didn't shoot
know.
well,
Yeah, so I
but it
think it's
still helped
experience.
give me the confidence that
Yeah, and
I
I
shot a
believe,
world event.
yeah, and I do think it's preparation, 100%, right? Those who fail to prepare, or what, I don't
I
remember
know
what
the saying. Yeah.
yeah,
What
whatever the
is it?
saying is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm only as confident as what I think I can execute. So if I don't think I can make the shot, then I'm not going to be right. I'm not confident.
Hmm.
If I do that in practice, if I make that shot in practice again and again and again, I'm going to have more confidence when I get to the tournament to make that shot.
Right.
So it's experience, yes, and preparation. It's both for sure.
I had a couple aha moments with Zach and you. One of them with Zach just quickly was keeping the gun out of my face for a period of time because of my eye dominance issues and bringing it into the last second because I tended to do better with feet tests than I did sporting when the gun was up in my head. Another one with you was how you utilizing the eyes and syncing up with the bird from a timing perspective and kind of feeling that bird in the eye. I didn't know what that meant until we started working together. What was your kind of aha moment that you remember as like a major change in your game?
It was definitely visual, and it's my ability to look at the bird without losing track of the gun.
Mm,
So, in terms of your eyes, right, you can only look at one thing at one time with clarity. And of course, when someone said, look at the bird, I'm like, of course, I'm looking at the bird. And then I learned about, more hard focus. And of course, I was hard focusing, but maybe I was doing it too early. Maybe I was doing it too long. Maybe I wasn't getting there. And then when I started to experience that hard focus, then I had to take another step and say, okay, well, what kind of hard focus? Like, what level does that get to? On certain shots, I feel like hard focus means one thing, and on certain shots, hard focus means another thing. But at the end of the day, it's looking as hard as you can at the bird without losing track of the gun.
hmm hmm
And that sounds like such a simple concept, but you have to be really self aware and you have to experience it again and again to really get better at it, to really
Right.
test it. Because, as an instructor, I can ask you to do something with the gun all day long, but if you can't look at the bird and you don't know where the gun's at, it doesn't really matter. So that was probably one of the biggest things um, in my game that helped me, and I'm still working on that. And that's a big thing that I see in instruction a lot, right? I see both extremes. I see people looking too much at the gun, and I see people have no idea where the gun's at.
Right. Right.
But it's
And
visual.
yeah, and like you said, experience will kind of dictate what works for you for a given presentation or target. I think, for me, what I found out was close quartering targets. I actually need to squint an eye a little bit and almost have the barrel be a little bit more aware from me, or in some incoming targets. But on other types of targets, I'm not. It's like 20% focus on the barrel and more focus on the bird. But the bird barrel relationship, you just got to kind of figure out what works for you at that given time. So that
Yeah,
takes
and
time to
everybody's
develop.
dealing with something different. Eye dominance
Right.
issues and one eye versus two eyes. So as an instructor, you kind of have to work with one, what they give you and what their
Yeah.
goals are, right? If they're willing to change, if we're willing to work through something, things like that. But at the end of the day, it's a visual game for sure.
So what was funny about you coaching me was, and Zach was the same way. I think there was a couple others, but you really, really understood what I was seeing when I was looking at it because you asked me a bunch of times, "Did you do this, this, and this when you were shooting that?" And I was like, yeah." And then you're like, "Yeah, don't do that." You're like, "Do this instead." And so, how do you know what people are doing when you're looking behind them and you're not looking down the barrel with them?
Right.
How did you develop that skill?
I don't always know.
Okay.
As an instructor, that's part of the job.
Yeah.
And just like any other skill, you have to get better at it. You have to learn how to teach. But that's one of the most challenging parts of the job is you have to be able to communicate with your student and try and get into their eyes. You have to be able to know what they're seeing so that you can correct it. Um, you can learn, you learn some of that, or you figure it out based off of physical cues. Sometimes, things that they're doing physically relate to something that they're doing with their eyes. You do that through conversation. You do that through explanation and understanding. But if the better you can get into their perception, the more useful your instruction is going to be to them.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was huge for me because you knew exactly what I was doing. And I think another thing that probably made sense for that is not only your experience with it, but we also have similar correction, I think, in terms of astigmatism. I believe you have astigmatism, right?
Yeah.
And we were comparing notes on that. Can you touch on that a little bit? Like, did you always have eye correction, or was that something more recent? Because this was recent for me.
Yeah, no, I didn't always have eye correction. It's been a while now since I've gotten glasses, but it's definitely progressed. So my correction has increased
Mhm.
over the last 5 years. It's kind of holding steady now. So I've had a good consistency in it the last couple years. But it was definitely a struggle because when you don't have glasses and then you go into glasses, you're not in tune with your eyes as much in terms of, are they getting worse, are they staying the same, and it's hard to know when that's happening. So that was part of the struggle with correction, and then the other part of it is just understanding it, right? Astigmatism is very science to me, right? I don't understand the science behind it. I understand what I see and what it does, and then over the years, I've learned what that can affect. Um, so I've been through that experience. So I have some of those moments where I go, okay, this is what it looked like, and this is what I need to see, or this is what
Mhm.
it looked like, and this is what was happening. Um, so the stigmatism can be a challenge because it doesn't matter if it's close or far. It doesn't matter what the distance of it is. It's again, I'm not a, eye doctor or anything, but it kind of stretches an object.
Mhm.
So the edges get real blurry. And then
Yep.
you bring in this whole concept of looking hard at the bird. I want to get hard focus on the bird. Well, I'm like, I'm looking as hard as I possibly can at it, and it's never clear, right? So then you start to question everything and if you're doing it right. So I've just kind of learned and through trial and error over the years
Yeah, it
what
was
that.
a weird adjustment for me, to be honest, because you're right. The edges at distance would be blurry. And then when I got the correction, everything was so clear. It looked like things were smaller actually out there rather
Yeah.
than this little
Right.
blotch of blur that I used to see. And so that took a little bit of adjustment because my depth perception had changed also to a degree. But um, are you getting regularly checked for your eyes?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
go every year. I go to Dr. Stephen Means. He's out of Huntsville, Texas.
Hmm.
He's been our eye doctor since I moved there. He's amazing. I love him, and his office, his whole staff is great. And he's always given us the information that we need. He understands what we're trying to get out of correction. It's not just, can I read the menu better?
Right.
He understands better what we're trying to accomplish with our correction. So he's amazing. Love him.
Right on. And do you wear glasses when you're shooting, or do you wear contacts?
Yeah, I definitely wear glasses. Pila's,
Okay.
Clay Target Vision has provided me with all my glasses. They're amazing. We finally got to a frame that's really, really comfortable for me. They customized my lenses, which they're amazing at. I've got the correction right, and it's working really, really well. So thank you to them for making that happen because I've been through quite a few different frames. I've tried contacts, couldn't wear them. My eyes are too dry. I tried inserts. I tried different inserts. Then they got heavy. I tried, prescription and regular lenses, and then we went to a different frame. So I've been through a gamut of them.
Which ones are you using now
I
of the
use the
PLS?
500. Yeah, the Pila. It's the 500 series,
Okay.
580s, but they've cut the lens shorter. I've been blessed with these lovely cheeks. And most lenses are too tall, so my cheeks hit the glasses.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
they just shortened them up for me. But it's the 500 series. I believe they're the 580s.
Right on.
Yeah.
Now you aside from eyes and kind of learning your training and everything like that, you also recently, oh, maybe it's been a couple years now, since you switched to an auto. You were shooting a Beretta. Which one was it again before? Was it the DT11?
Yep.
DT11, then you switched to the Beretta A400.
Yep.
Which model? The Sporting?
The Excel.
The Excel. Okay.
Yep.
How, I went through a recent change in guns as well. I'm trying a much lighter gun. I went from Kohler to Krieghoff just to try it out a different gun. How has that transition been for you going from over under to auto?
It's a challenge. When I first started shooting, I shot an auto, and I shot that for a long time. So I am very familiar with an auto. And then I was in a over under for probably 4, 5, maybe 5 years, 6 years, something like that. And then I went back to the auto. So it's definitely a challenge because it moves different. An auto and an over under move very different. Um, one is not better than the other. One is not worse than the other. The difference is, there's going to be an advantage on certain shots with one, and there's going to be disadvantages on certain shots with one. So it's learning what those are, learning how to adjust for those different shots that you have to maybe work a little harder on or change.
Hmm.
And that takes time, right? That takes time. You have to shoot those different style shots to learn where to adjust. For me, the auto is much easier to point. I can point that gun anywhere I want. It's easier for me to manipulate. So I don't have to work as hard to make the gun do what I want. There's less recoil. However, because it's not as, for lack of a better word, balanced, the weight isn't throughout the gun as much. It doesn't swing as smoothly as some people would say, quote unquote. It doesn't hold any momentum in that move.
Hmm.
So when you stop moving the gun stops. And if you push it too hard, you get going too fast. So some longer crossing shots, the longer stuff for me is a little bit more of a challenge just because I don't feel that as much. But that's just something that I have to adjust and correct for. Visually, to me, the auto is a little more simple. However, it takes more discipline. Back to what I was saying earlier about looking as hard as you can at the bird without losing track of the gun. That can be easy to do with an auto. You got one barrel, right? It's really easy to lose track of it. So that's something visual that I've had to adjust. It just takes time.
Do you feel that the advantages and disadvantages are more specific to the individual shooter or just the actual platform?
Yeah, the
Okay.
shooter and the stage of what they're doing. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Now, Zach's line is always if every single person at the tournament shot an auto, more targets would be broken than there are now. You know
Interesting.
what I
Okay.
mean? It's just for I don't know. I don't want to say easier because easier is a kind of a bad word, but yeah, more people would probably benefit from shooting an auto, and most people used to. That
Right.
was a very very popular gun to shoot back in the day, and the industry's just kind of changed a little bit. They see the pros shooting over unders, so that's what they want to shoot.
Right. Right.
Um, Nothing wrong with an over under, obviously. Great gun.
Yeah.
Uh, where you're at in your shooting, I think matters on what gun you're shooting and the individual person. I
Do
don't
you
take
think?
recoil. Yeah, I don't take recoil well. I never
Yeah.
have. My body does not take recoil well, so an auto is a good fit for me.
I don't think anyone takes recoil well, right? We just kind of suck it up
Yeah,
and yeah,
I
it
know, but some people other than others, I mean, I have, some students that are kind of my size and they shoot the same shell in an over under and they just don't move as much. Their
yeah.
body literally doesn't move as much as mine does.
Hmm.
So, it's just dependent upon the person, I guess.
Dumb question, but do you think over-unders are going to go the way the dodo, like not side by sides have? I mean, there's still those specialists and those, people, but do you think autos will eventually take over as one of the
No,
main? No?
no, no. I think you'll always have that. I think you might see more autos than you did in the past. Part of it too, as the sport grows, you have more beginners, right? You have more people getting into the sport, and an auto is a great beginner platform. So you might see more of them, but no, over unders will never go away. They're
Yeah, I still love my over-under. I'll be honest. I loved my autos too. And that's another reason why I wanted to drop in weight. I think my style of shooting warrants a lighter gun than a heavier gun. And my Kohler was a 9.5 pound gun, which I liked. It soaked a recoil great and swung it great. But the Krieghoff is a whole pound lighter, and I just feel like I move it better and feel it feels better for me
Yeah.
in that regard, you know. And I think it just has to do with the weight, but I think that makes a huge difference.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and people used to nitpick on, oh, you get two chokes instead of one, or you don't have to clean the gun as much. That's all just, you know, remedial stuff. Like
Right.
you should probably clean your gun, frequently, no matter what you shoot. And one choke versus two isn't gonna make that big of a difference. I mean, most people shoot the same choke in both barrels anyways.
Right.
So I think it's just a depending on the platform where you're at in your shooting and what you need out of that tool, because it's a tool at the end of the day. What
Right.
do you need for that tool to give you so that you can accomplish what you want?
Speaking of cleaning your gun, do you clean your auto more than you did your over under?
Oh yeah, no
You're right.
question. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so Zach always used to make a joke about how he never cleans his gun. And I think that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, he does not.
He does not? Okay. And you, when you were shooting the auto, I mean the over under, were you cleaning it regularly or no?
Yeah, I've always been pretty good at cleaning my gun. That was drilled into me at a small young age, right? Clean the gun, clean the gun. No, usually what happens is Zach will say, Desi, will you clean my gun? And I'll say, okay, what are you cooking me for dinner? Um, something like that. But
Picanhas, picanhas.
yeah, and I actually, to be honest with you, I don't dislike cleaning my guns.
Right.
It gives
It's like
me
a
even at
therapeutic.
a yeah, at a tournament, I'll do it a lot. I wouldn't say a lot. I'll do it at a tournament, even a big tournament. It gives me a reset. It gives me a moment to myself. And it gives me time to kind of think about the day and how I shot. And then if there's any bad juju or anything on the gun, just clean it off and it's good to go.
Maybe it's just me, but I always feel like a dirtier gun I shoot better with than when it's clean.
Yeah.
Is that a
Yeah.
thing or
I,
is that
I
just
feel
a
like
Henning
I feel
thing?
like Zach kind of thinks that way too. But
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't have to have my gun spotless, but yeah, my auto actually cycles better when it's clean. Imagine that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, the A400 is, I think, one of the best autos out there in the market. I'm not sponsored or no one sponsors me to say
Yeah.
that. I just think it really
I mean,
is. So,
yeah, obviously, let me cover that. Always
right.
been the best auto, the
Yeah.
best gas
Yeah.
operated auto on the market. The old Beretta autos, all the way into the new ones. The new A400s are actually way easier to clean than the old autos.
Really.
Yeah, just less parts, less pieces.
Yeah. Right on. So for me, shotgunning has been something that's been a huge passion of mine ever since I started getting into it. And I think a big part of it is because I've been able to take lessons from shooting and apply it into my real life, you know. What's something that you've taken from competitive shooting that you apply in your everyday life nowadays?
Keep calm,
Yeah, right.
stay calm, right? I think it's learning to be present. It teaches you how to be present in a moment. It teaches you how to be self-aware and reflect on what you're doing, what you're trying to do. I think long term, it just teaches you it teaches you failure, right? You have to
Yeah,
learn how to fail. You have to learn how to get better. Um, and yeah, it teaches so many things. That's why it's great. It really does. From a beginner all the way to an experienced shooter, you're always learning something when you're shooting, or you should be, I
yeah.
guess. Right? You should always be, even if it's something small. But it teaches a lot of things, especially with the kids. I think it's a great sport for the kids. It teaches them how to deal with their emotions. It teaches them accountability, responsibility, all of those things, without putting too much pressure on them, right? I have a lot of youth students that come to me that played team sports, travel ball, travel soccer, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And they just got burnt out. It was too much for them. So there's an independent kind of factor to the shooting that I think a lot of kids enjoy. Um, they're not pressured to perform for someone else's, score. It's just themselves. But again, it teaches them, how to deal with emotions, how to deal with failure, how to think critical thinking, how to be accountable, how to be responsible. It teaches them social skills. They have to learn to talk to people. They can't just ignore everybody. So it's a myriad of things.
There's so much. I mean, in speaking of the kids, I mean, I've of all the sports that I've seen, and I've got nephews and niece, and and they're all in different sports and things like that too. I feel like the shooter kids have just been some of the best kids I've come across. Most disciplined, well behaved, well mannered.
I
And
agree.
I think there is a direct relationship to that because the way the
Yeah.
parents teach them and raise them and the responsibility that they're given and understanding that responsibility that they're given holding a shotgun and doing those types of things and the people that they meet too, they tend to grow up faster, I feel like it too, because they're around adults a lot more
Yeah.
instead of just their peers. So no, I think it's been great. It's been a great thing for me. You talk about the calm piece. That is absolutely what it was for me. It was almost like a meditative Zen moment where everything that's going on in my brain goes away, and the only thing I'm focused on is this little target out in the middle of the sky somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's been great for me. So no, I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
What's been the toughest mental hurdle that you've had to overcome in competition?
Yeah. Um, everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everything.
Let's do this. What's currently the mental hurdle you think you're trying to overcome?
Confidence.
Okay. I mean, that's going to be a forever thing. It feels like it,
Yep,
right?
confidence. It's finding it, it's having it, it's holding it, it's keeping it. It's such a game of, of longevity throughout the year for us. There's a lot of targets to be shot, and it's trying to keep that confidence that I know I have, but may not have at that moment.
Isn't that weird? Like with all your wins and accolades and the things you've accomplished,
I know you would think
that's
so.
still the fleeting thing that you still have to chase and everyone has to chase, right? That's the thing
Yeah.
everyone has to contend with no matter what.
Yeah, and then like I said before, right now kind of one of my other focuses is kind of that mental game is being more diligent about um, putting the effort in, putting the really deep down inside energy into those processes, and doing that every time. It can get monotonous, and when it gets monotonous, it's easy to skip over it,
Mhm.
and it's important.
What would Desi now tell Desi from the past about this shooting journey?
Oh God, hold on, girl, hold on. Yeah,
Hold on.
hold on and get a raise.
Get a raise. Okay. I like
Need
that.
more money. No, I'm joking. I would tell myself then to probably be more present
Okay.
in the moment of shooting, in the station, when you're shooting this pair, like all the way down to that moment. Be more present, be more self reflective in those moments because that's where you're learning. That's where you're learning things is in that moment. Um, it's easier, you can look back at the whole course and say, oh, well, I didn't do this. Yeah, but what about this specific spot and this specific spot? So be more present. I would tell myself probably to look at the bird more. Look at the bird. Um, and yeah, and just keep your head down and keep going. I
Okay.
don't know.
You mentioned to me one time, the life of a shooter can, requires a lot of sacrifice. You guys are always on the road, traveling all the time, never home. Has there ever been a time or a moment where you've kind of questioned, is this what you wanted to do? Is it all worth it? And, what caused you to kind of pull through that moment if you had that moment?
Um, yes and no. I mean, a little bit. It's more out of fatigue. It
Yeah.
was never, oh, I don't love this, or oh, I, don't like my life. I love my life. I love what I do. It's just fatigue. It's
Hmm.
a, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I don't want to go to this tournament. Oh my gosh, I'm tired. Can we, shoot less this year? And trying to get through it. Zach has been a big help with that of kind of keeping me on the level head of saying it's okay, scratch that one off, on to the next one, or we're trying to peak at this time during the year. Don't worry about it until now. Just keep working towards it, things like that. Um, you just have to love it. It's like anything, right?
Yeah.
If you want to keep doing it and you're struggling, you have to love it, and you got to keep going.
No, that's good, and that's good advice
And
too.
and great support system, right? Friends, fellow
Yeah.
shooters. I have great teams: Team Winchester, Team Beretta, Team Whitefire. And just friends yourself. And just keeping you kind of going and saying, "Yep, that's all right. Let's go practice together, or let's keep going, or I'll see you at the next one, or whatever that is."
You've just kind of penning back a little bit too, and just kind of thinking about your career. You've really been a great role model in the sport, and you've been kind of spearheading, I believe, some initiatives about getting more female participation. How have you seen the landscape kind of change over the years in terms of females being in the sport and it growing? Because I feel like in the last five, maybe longer, there's been more women getting in the sport, more top women competitors, inching up and becoming, top 10, top three, top five. How have you seen that change and how have you helped contribute to that?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's more women shooting now. There's more people shooting now in general than when
Hmm.
before. I think recreationally and competitively, our shoots are bigger than they used to be, right? Our regionals are bigger than the zones ever were. So I do see more women doing that. I think that's the one market that is still untapped. There's a lot of youth shooting around the country. I mean, there's different programs and things like that, but I think women is still one of the biggest untapped markets. If you can include mom, if you can include grandma, if you can include sister, you're more likely to participate as a family. I think some of that is born from opportunity in terms of gun club. I think some of that is born from availability of equipment, whether that be firearms, whether that
Right.
be ammunition. I think some of that is born from kind of more of a grassroots effort of saying it's okay for women to come out to the range. It's okay for you to come try. It's okay if you don't know anything. It's okay if you've never done it.
It's okay if you're even scared of it. I was just talking to a couple
Yeah.
last night that were scared of it, and I was trying to calm them down and make them feel like, hey, don't, you're coming out with me. There's no expectations. We'll make sure everything is safe and the environment's good for you. And taking away the fear, I think, is another one too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think you're going to see that. I think you will, and I hope to see just a continual growth in that. I think it's a great sport for it. I think there's plenty of opportunity for growth in that market, and I think we've just barely scratched the surface on it.
What role do you think
Um,
the organizations can have, like the NSCA or manufacturers, in promoting the sport and elevating female shooters into it?
Yeah, so on a competitive platform, one thing we've done is Winchester. I'm on Team Winchester. They have been very proactive in promoting females in shotgun sports.
Hmm.
We do the Winchester Ladies Cup. I think this is our fifth year doing
God, has
that.
it been 5 years already?
I
Wow,
think
time's
so.
flying by.
I'd have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 years. We actually have some changes coming to that. So you should see some stuff on social media here coming up. And basically, that's just the changes are going to be we've actually added money, so more money. And that money is paid out at the champion during the championship tour. So Winchester also sponsors the championship tour. And the Winchester Ladies Cup is additional monies paid out to the ladies category at each of those seven shoots. We're going to pay, before we paid one to three, position one to three, we're now going to pay position one to five. We're paying all the way to fifth place. We're doing that at every tournament. Um, and before you were actually required to shoot three separate events to qualify, and now you only have to shoot the main event. So it's a 200 target main event, and that money gets paid out to the ladies category. So that would be one initiative that
That's awesome.
Winchester is supporting. They have several others that they do. The NSCA, they do all kinds of ladies programs, whether that be women's grants. We do lots of stuff at the nationals for ladies tours. We do a lady shoot there for beginners. It's really geared towards beginners. It's like I think it's a 50 bird shoot, so it's not you know um, 100 birds, but we have staff. They have staff out there to help people who have never shot registered targets before. And I think on a grassroots level, a lot of gun clubs are pretty accommodating to that. They're pretty welcoming to saying, look, These ladies want to come out. We'll try and get together. If they've got rental guns, we'll try and get a couple people out to help guide them, help them get through the basics so that they feel comfortable in that first experience. I know the NSCA is always looking to do other initiatives to try and reach those markets. I'm on the EC, and I can definitely tell you that we're definitely working on that. But more is better, right? More
Yeah.
opportunities is better.
No, it's great to hear that. And I wasn't even aware of that. So it's great to hear there's been a lot of initiatives around that. I feel like the manufacturers are now starting to get on board too by creating guns specifically designed for women, marketing to women as well, setting up the fit. Because that's always been an issue that I've seen when I've taken women out is, using my guns to let a woman shoot it. The fit's not right. They don't have a good experience because they're holding this big gun out there. So I'm glad to see that there's a little bit more direction from the manufacturers as well. But what else would you like to see implemented to kind of bring more women in, or is there
Yeah,
more
and
that can be
in terms
done?
of like the manufacturers gearing it towards women, I mean, everybody's different, right? You pick a gun up off the rack and it's not going to fit everybody, whether you're a lady or a man or a kid or an adult.
Hmm.
So it's learning that fit. Um, to be honest with you, I think it's again opportunity and it's a boots on the ground effort. When you want to try something for the first time, you have to have someone there to guide you and help you do it. So the more of those opportunities that we can provide, the more women you're going to see get into it. And the more women who shoot, the more women you potentially could see compete. Um, I know there's a large contingency of youth shooting throughout the country. There's always been a little bit of a gap between the youth and NSCA. Part of that's life, right? That's growing up, that's paying bills, that's having families. So you're always going to see that. But if you can get those return individuals, I think that's where you're going to start to see it too. And I see a lot of women in the youth shooting, which is great. But I think it comes down. I think it comes down to opportunity, right?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, there's a million soccer fields within, a mile of my house or whatever you want to say. That's bad numbers. The math isn't mathing, but so the opportunity to go play soccer is pretty easy.
Right.
Well, there's one gun club within 30 minutes of my house. So, and it's private. So there's just not a lot of opportunity. So the more times you can give someone an opportunity to experience it, I think the more you'll see.
Yeah, that's a good point. Panning out a little bit more to you and speaking a little bit on you, because I think some of the folks would want to know a little bit about you. What uh what would you say you love most about clay shooting, but beyond the medals, the titles, the travel, what's your most favorite thing about clay shooting?
The people,
Yeah.
no question. The people, the industry, the workers. Um, there's all of us who do this thing called clay target shooting, right? We like to think we're some big world. Really, we're
Tiny.
pretty
Yeah.
small, and it's awesome. Meet people from all walks of life, all over the country. We all have a common goal. We like being social. We like spending time with each other, and you get to experience all of those things with people that you like.
Yeah.
I could do it by myself, but it's probably not as fun if I didn't have my friends there. So it's definitely the people for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with myself. That's what it's been for me. I've met some really, really great people through this and like-minded people, even though we come from different walks of life, different
Yeah.
backgrounds. The shared passion for clay shooting or shooting shotguns it's just been great. I've made some really, really great lifelong friends through it. So I could totally relate to that as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned you wanted to win the World Feed Task. I mean, I think that's a big one for a lot of shooters. Are there any other goals aside from World Feed Task on your list for competitions you want to win or ways you want to give back to the sport?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of giving back, I think at this one step in this long journey is always trying to create more opportunities for that, more ways that I can contribute and give back, whether that be to youth, to women. Winchester's a great supporter of that. Beretta's a good supporter of that. The industry as a whole, I think, is so. I'm always trying to think of different ways to do that. I'd like to get a few more initiatives on the ground that we're working
Mhm.
on. Um, and that also includes, the NSCA, Team USA, being on the EC. It's just giving back a little bit more. The World Feed Task is a specific shoot that I need to put on the list. I need to, I want to, I will.
You'll get it. You'll get it
Right.
for sure.
So that's definitely on the list. And of course I want to be successful, but I think it's about consistency. It's about just being consistent in my ability throughout the year and trying to maintain that level.
Okay.
Um, Not letting myself get too passive, not letting myself get too high, right? Too hungry. You want to be hungry for it, but you can't overwhelm yourself with it to where you're not being, reflective and learning as you go.
Right, right. No, that's true. It's good that you have that balance. I see it across the board though on the range of people that are maybe too far one way, too far the other, and I feel like you're very balanced in being able to kind of be on both ends of that.
Not always. On the inside, it's like chaos,
Yeah,
chaos. But no, it's learning how to deal with it internally, learning how to deal with it externally, next step forward, and just again being reflective and trying to be balanced.
right. Speaking of chaos, what's something most people don't know about you off the range? Like
Um,
interests, hobbies. Do you do anything other than shooting?
I love fishing.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not very good. Well, I shouldn't say it. I'm not very knowledgeable about it, right? I'm not like this. I don't know everything about lures and freshwater fishing and saltwater fishing. I just like fishing. I like catching fish. I like going fishing, even if I don't catch fish. I really enjoy that. I get to
You've
do
been
that.
catching a lot since you went to Georgia because I've been seeing some pictures of you and
Yeah.
Zach going on your little golf cart rides and then coming back,
Uh-huh.
catching some fish or whatever.
Yeah, when we moved here, it was COVID. That year was COVID. So I had lots of extra time. So I got to do a lot of fishing, which is awesome. I have done a little bit less here recently, but we did get to go up to Alaska last fall and we had a great fishing trip there. Our buddy Rodney came, Zach and I, and we definitely slayed some fish. So that was fun.
Um,
But I do enjoy fishing. I enjoy hunting. I just kind of enjoy traveling. I enjoy doing something new, something, that I've maybe never done before. Um, yeah. And
right
I
on.
don't know, something
You
that
guys
people,
live quite the adventurous life, I've noticed.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're
world traveled, going all
very
over,
lucky.
doing different things, living that outdoor lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous if I'm being honest, because
Yeah,
I'm
it's,
stuck at
it's
my
always a
computer on my
trade-off, right? Everything is a trade-off.
yeah.
So there's lots of positive to it, but there are some downfalls, just like any job. But yeah, we're very blessed. We're very lucky, to do what we do. Yeah.
So while I was writing all these questions, I there were some that I thought I'd ask you, and I'm kind of a little embarrassed to ask you, but if you'll humor me
Yeah.
through these. These are more just like fun questions I wanted to ask you, just because they get in your head a little bit.
Yeah.
I noticed one time you and Zach pulled up to a to a shoot off, bumping some music in the cart. What do you guys have like a pump up song that you play
Yeah.
before a big shoot, or do you guys just what do you do?
No, I wouldn't say there's a specific song. It always seems to work out because we're with a lot of our friends when we go on these trips, that by the end of the weekend, there is a song that has kind of made the weekend. Zach's definitely into the social media thing too, so he's always looking for music to attach to his social media stuff. So I wouldn't say there's one specific song. Um, when I'm shooting, when I go hunting or fishing, I definitely listen to some AC/DC. That's a pump up
Which
music.
one? Thunderstruck?
Any of it.
Thrill?
Yeah, any of it. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I know AC/DC is awesome. I love AC/DC.
Yeah. But yeah, music is good. It's kind of funny. A lot of people won't, may not know, but Zach's a big podcast listener. He loves listening to podcasts, sports podcasts, hunting podcasts, everything. And when he wakes up in the morning, that's the first thing that gets turned on is like the podcast. So we wake up, and Desi is not a morning person. Fun fact, if people don't know, Desi doesn't do mornings well. So Zach's listening to his podcast. So a lot of times before or on the way to a shoot, that's what he's listening to. He's listening to a podcast, and that's, I guess, his pump up music, or I don't know, but we probably listen to more podcasts than we do music nowadays when we're on the
I
road.
think that's just the future now. I find myself listening to a lot more podcasts than I do music even, and I'm a huge music guy.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of nice to get different perspectives, hear different opinions, get a laugh out of something.
Right.
One of my favorites is with Dana Carvey. I don't don't know if you remember Dana Carvey from the old SNL. He has a
Mm-mm.
podcast, I think, with his wife or something. It's pretty hilarious, but
Nice.
I'm a big fan of him. What's your go-to meal after a long day on the range? Do you have one, or like fat? It doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah.
It can be fast food.
Anything, anything.
I think one time you mentioned you love Taco Bell or something.
I do. I do love Taco Bell. That's one of my guilty pleasures for sure.
Yeah, it's mine too.
Long day at the range, whatever. I'm
Yeah.
hungry. That's what I know. So yeah, a lot of times it is fast food, unfortunately, just because we're all, covered in dust and, we've been sweating all day and we want something to eat now. Yeah, Taco Bell is probably my guilty pleasure.
What are you getting at Taco Bell?
I do chicken quesadilla.
Okay.
I do like a Dorito Loco taco, or I think that's
Those
what it's.
things are always falling apart, though.
I
You know,
know, but they're so good.
they are
Baja
good.
Blast. I do like a good Baja Blast.
Would
I
it
like.
kill them to make that Dorito shell a
Yeah,
little thicker so it could
I
hold the
know.
meat without falling apart? I mean, not too much to
Yeah, I
ask.
do. I do like a cheesy gordita crunch or something. I've been in my own shooting. I've been trying to eat better. It's fuel the beast, I guess you would say. But I've been trying to eat better, less fast food and things like that. So Taco Bell's hasn't been eaten in a while, but yeah,
Now you're making me hungry for Taco Bell, though.
I
But
know, right? I'm hungry too.
here's the next one. What's been the most embarrassing moment you've ever had at a shoot? And if you don't mind sharing, like seriously, go all in
Yeah.
on this.
I don't. I don't know.
Nothing embarrassing?
Yeah, so I can
Wardrobe
remember
fails,
being
drop shells, pooped your pants. I mean,
no, I can
something,
be
no?
really embarrassed. I remember crying, like, when I was younger and I thought the world was ending because I missed a target. And I remember crying at some point. That was just looking back, that's so embarrassing. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
to cry over play target.
I think I do that
I
every
would say,
station, but that's, at least you learn to get away from that.
yeah, I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind, oh, we were at a Ducks Unlimited shoot out west. I think we're in Arizona. I can't remember where. Zach and I were shooting together. I had been shooting for quite a while. Like I was a decent shot.
Hmm.
We shot this Ducks Unlimited shoot, 100 targets, and I could not hit anything. And we're talking charity events like in your face, slow, right at. I could not hit anything. Zach shot 100 straight, and I don't even know if I broke 50.
No, really?
It was so embarrassing. I don't even know. It was
And were
just,
you known as a professional shooter at the time?
I don't think I was like professional shooter, but I was a decent shot. Like
Yeah.
I had a shoot, and it
But
was a
people
charity.
knew you were a decent shot, right? That's where the embarrassment came out of,
Yeah,
is
it was a
like people were
charity
expecting you
event.
to
Like
shoot well.
it was an out of body experience. That was definitely an embarrassing one. I could
Yeah.
not hit anything.
Well, thank you for sharing that. You know
Yeah,
what? I think that's good for people to hear that even the good shooters can go to have those experiences.
yeah, that's it, man.
Who's the most fun person to squad with?
Hmm. I don't know. That's a good question. I should.
That's a loaded question because
I know.
if you say with someone, then someone else is going to be,
I should
what,
say
you don't like?
Zach, right?
Yeah.
Zach's the most fun. No, I enjoy squatting with all different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Um, I think you make those moments. They, you obviously a good, combination of of people helps that, but I think you make it fun or you don't. It's your
Right.
decision to make it fun or not.
No, 100%. I like going to different squads and trying different squads, but when you have your fun squad where everyone's just on board with having fun and having a good time and supporting each other, can't be
Hmm.
beat.
Yeah,
If you were to have a weekend off, and I think I know the answer to this already, but what are you doing if you're not shooting?
sleeping.
Okay. I was going to say fishing, but sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm fishing. No, obviously when I'm not shooting, I'm teaching as well. But yeah, every once in a while, I just need a reset day, and that probably involves being in my pajamas all day. It involves some sort of television. Yeah, I need a veg out day.
Okay, so here's the dumbest of all the questions, but I got to know this, and at least hopefully you've thought about this if you haven't. Who would play you in the movie version of your shooting career?
Oh my God, I have no idea. I'm horrible with actresses. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who it would be also, and I can't put something to
I
it.
don't know, but that does remind me of so recently here, we've had some friends over at the house, and one of our new friends showed us this chat GTP way to like animate a photo,
Oh
I
wow.
guess. So it takes, you've taken a photo and you have it on your phone and you put that photo, I don't know, I haven't done it, Zach has, and you put it in chat GTP and it animates it. So they're like animated characters. And Zach's been doing that. So with some really cool photos, hilarious, awesome. They turn out super good. And one of our buddies, Zach, made an animated photo of us hunting geese, and it was me and him, and we're holding these geese up. And our buddy commented on it, and he gave us this comment of the new Disney movie, and he gave this full commentary rundown of what we were doing in the movie or what the storyline was about. And I thought it was kind of funny, but
No,
yeah,
that's
this
cool.
new
So like a duck hunting Disney fantasy.
yeah, like
It
in
needs to
terms of
happen.
movies, like who would star in the movie, this animated thing is kind of fun. That's just reminding me of that. But I don't know who would ever play me in a
Yeah,
movie.
I'm at a loss too. When I was thinking of it, I thought you would have one for sure.
Mhm.
In my movie, it would be The Rock
Oh, for
with
sure.
the eyebrows. But no, I'm kidding. But
I don't think people want to see me in a movie.
oh no, I doubt that.
Yeah.
But no, Desi, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. You're someone that I've looked up to in the sport. You've been someone that's been impactful for my shooting journey as well, and I've always appreciated your friendship. So thank you so much for joining us on this podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for doing a podcast, getting it out to people. Like I said, more opportunities is better. The more people that hear it, the better. So thanks for everything, honey.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a new endeavor for me. It's not my
Yeah,
forte, but I'm enjoying doing it. It's been interesting
good,
interviewing people.
good.
So yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
You too.